What's up, everybody? Welcome to Studio Wesley Live, our weekly hangout for community and connection. I'm Derek Scott III, director of Studio Wesley, and it is the first Studio Wesley Live of 2026. I'm so glad that we are here. This is going to be a great year. I'm calling it. It's going to be a great year, and it's going to be a great show tonight. I'm so excited to have a great panel. Going to have such a good time, and so I want them to introduce themselves. Let us know where they. Oh gosh, I need to get my words out. Let us know where they are hanging out tonight, like the city they're in, and one thing they're giving up in 2025. So let's start with the person who is new to Studio Wesley Live tonight. Josh, how are you doing, my friend? How's it going?
I'm doing great, Derek. I actually just got back into my apartment right next to UCF here in Orlando last night / this morning, depending on how you want to put it. My room is a mess. I've cleaned out this little portion that you can see here. But yeah, that's where I am. I'm in Orlando, Eastern time, away from the Central time. Trying to adjust there. Something that I gave up is I left my Xbox in Alabama at my parents' house over Christmas break. So that is a pretty huge give up, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get all of my time and energy back from the Xbox and give it to something hopefully better. So that is my New Year's resolution.
Some of us call that adulting. Some of us call that sacrifice. Depends on which way we're going to look at it. I get it, man.
I'm trying to get in that adulting world.
You're going to do it, man. Oh, man. So good to see you. Thanks for being on the show tonight. Allison, how's it going, my friend?
I am okay. I'm tired. It's been a long weekend, but I'm excited for Studio Wesley Live to be back. I am leaving scrolling before bed because I love reading. I'm an avid reader, and I would say the last 2 months of 2025, instead of reading, my rule is always 1 chapter or 30 minutes before bed. I could do more if I want, but that was my rule, and I had not been doing that, and so I am going back to my reading. I feel like I rest better. Also, this is my pile of shame right here. It looks tiny on the camera, but this is every book I own that I've never actually read. So I'm going to start on that pile before bed like I used to and stop scrolling for hours on end at night.
Stop the scroll. You're in Tampa tonight, yes, Allison?
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's good to see you, Allison. Grace, how's it?
It is. I'm coming at y'all where I almost always am, in my apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. Technically 10 minutes north of Emory University, Candler School of Theology, if we want
nice.
The details.
Yes.
The orange. But yeah, so I was struggling with this because all of my answers were going to be sad. But when I was reflecting on what I'm leaving in 2025, this feels like when you make a wish, you're not supposed to tell people because otherwise it won't come true. But I can't think of much that I'm leaving behind. I'm hoping to add things, but it's hard to think of what I'm leaving behind. I would love to say that I'm leaving behind overbooking myself. We'll see what happens, but I
think that's good. Leaving behind overbooking. I think that's good.
Well,
I'll just.
I would like to say that I'm doing that. We'll
Same.
see what happens, but I don't know if I actually am. I hope that my cat leaves behind her chaotic behavior. I kind of don't. I love her for that, but
we all want our cats to not be destructive and yeah. That's great. Grace, it's so good to see you. So glad to have you.
Derek, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, I am leaving behind. Y'all are gonna love this. Y'all are gonna be shocked. I am leaving behind getting less than 7 hours of sleep at night. I'm leaving it behind. That is in 2025. I'm not bringing it with me in the 2026. It is not welcome. So it can stay there. No room for that less than 7 hours of sleep a night in my life. Okay. So we had a breakup. It was pretty messy. And I was like, no more. Toxic. So I'm sorry. We're going to go right into our regular segment, highlights of the week. Let's go. Highlight of the week. Highlight of the week is our regular segment where we each share something that we have noticed, something that we have seen, something from our neighborhoods or even from the nations that we want the Studio Wesley universe to know about. So we're going to start with Grace. Grace, what is your highlight of the week?
So I'm chronically online. One thing about me that you need to know is that I'm chronically online. And so I don't know if anybody has checked out the Top Golf TikTok recently or in the past like month.
I have not.
Somebody posted, I guess this didn't start on the TikTok or on the Top Golf TikTok, but somebody just out in the world posted that like they were there and one of the nets fell down. This needs like a million pieces of backstory for like this single highlight, and I'm gonna do my best. But somebody saw that one of the nets fell down, and so this person was posting, they're like, Top Golf, you better fix this. And then somebody in the comments, his name is Logan, he said that he's like, this better be fixed for my office Christmas party by January 9th. And then the comments just ran with that. And so they were like, oh my God, this better be fixed by, you know, for Logan's Christmas party, Top Golf, you better get on it. And then Top Golf started posting about it. They're like, we've heard you. It's going to be okay. Like, we're working on it for Logan's Christmas party. And then January 9th came and it happened. But it turned into this whole thing. Like, Top Golf, like, basically gave Logan the whole Top Golf for that day. They had a discount code that if you went to Top Golf on January 9th and used the code for Logan, you would get half off of your golf game as well. But it was a huge thing. There's TikToks about it. There's so much. So one of the links, well, the one link goes to one of Top Golf's videos about it. But it was huge. And I love the internet when things like this happen. Because like it's just some like work Christmas party, and now like it's a whole thing. So
now I have two things to say in response to you, Grace. One, I am actually heartened by the Christmas party happening in January, because some of us have experience in working in the service industry where we're doing everybody else's Christmas parties. And some of us even have experience working in ministry. And I don't know why we haven't decided that in ministry, we get to do our Christmas on Epiphany. That's a different conversation for a different day. That might actually be really cool. But anyways, first of all, kudos for doing Christmas party after Christmas. Second of all, I literally thought it was Logan Paul. I did. I thought it was like, when I first saw the headline in Slack, I was like, Grace is out here talking about Logan Paul. Okay.
No.
This is what she wants to put into the universe. That's fine. So, no, just like
I think it's Logan Phillips. So, like, still, last name starts with a P, but.
Well, Logan Phillips, I know you're watching Studio Wesley live tonight. So, please don't at me, okay? I'm sorry that I thought you were Logan Paul at first.
Do you think that Logan Paul is watching?
I don't think that Logan Paul is watching. I don't. Logan Phillips is definitely watching. Logan Paul is not, for a lot of reasons. So, Grace, thanks for that highlight. Allison, your highlight of this week.
Yeah, so even though I am giving up scrolling before bed, good things do come out of scrolling, because I recently discovered, I just pulled up the Instagram so I can remember the name. There's this Instagram, the Motivate HQ. And they do like dumps where it's like good news coming from around the world that no one's talking about. And so my highlight comes from a post they did. I'm linking like an actual article to it, but I just want to say that not all scrolling is bad scrolling, because there are things are like all these good things that are actually happening around us, because I feel like that's good, because sometimes Instagram can be lost on all the bad things that are happening around us. So my highlight, though, is in one of the posts I saw and then looked up, green sea turtles are no longer endangered. So they have kind of been tracking them for the last few decades, and they've seen an increase in their numbers. They said that they're not out of the woods yet, that they're like just above, the endangered line, but they are no longer endangered. And that from like the 1970s, the population has definitely increased, and that they've also seen an increase in the annual number of egg nesting sites. So all the good things with the turtles going on right now. So two things. I recommend the Motivate HQ on Instagram, but also very excited about the Sea Turtles right now.
We love to see it. We also love to see Natalie repping the Sea Turtles in the comments. So you keep going, Natalie, with your celebration of this highlight. Love it. We love to see the Sea Turtles thriving, green Sea Turtles particularly. I heard you say out of the woods, and I was like, until they are in the ocean, we're not really there, right? I'm not trying to get in on the dad jokes because I'm not really a dad, but like I'm a big brother / uncle. So like, I don't know what big brother / uncle jokes are, but that felt like it was close. Okay.
That was a good one, Derek. It was good. It was justified.
I appreciate that. Please let Keith know that I'm trying. I'm trying to y'all. Keith is Allison's father, by the way. Okay. Allison, thank you so much for that highlight. Josh, yes, more unk jokes for Derek for sure. Y'all should send them to me. Y'all should message me with your favorite unk jokes, not dad
Derek
jokes.
Derek promises to make unk jokes in 2026.
I will stand on this hill and scream unk jokes until we have no more time in Studio Wesley Live. Okay, Josh, your highlight this week.
Okay, so my highlight. So I'm a noob here. I kind of messed this up. This wasn't necessarily like a news story, but something like personally that I was able to experience.
No. You didn't mess up, Josh. You did not mess up. We are here. Okay. This is the highlight that you want to bring to the universe.
Yes. So this is my highlight that I had over like the New Year's break. And it's when I went to the Philadelphia Eagles Buffalo Bills game with my dad and my 2 younger brothers. It was a great experience. It was like high 30s, low 40s. Not quite cold enough to snow, but it was like pouring rain for about 3/4 of the game. And it was me, my dad, my brothers, and we're about 4 rows up from the top in Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, which is like an old decrepit stadium. They're actually like replacing it after this season. And I was next to a Phillies fan who was a bigger gentleman, and he was crunching into my space a little bit. He was there with, I presume, to either be his wife or like very serious girlfriend at the time. And I was really connecting. This is going to start like low, but I promise I'm going to bring it high. Is that he started opening up to me and he was cramming into my space. I was like, hey, man, are you able to get out like over there? And like, you're kind of in my seat. And he explained to me like, it's like his girlfriend was like really not having a fun time. And I was like, oh man, that's okay. And he started opening up to me. Again, he probably had a couple of beers, but he started like opening up to me about everything that's happened in 2025 and like everything that's going on with his family and all this kind of like trauma up on me. And I was able to kind of sit there as a mentor, and I was able to like focus on the positive because the Eagles were winning the game. And I was able to sit there. My dad, I want to bring my dad over because my dad is a pastor. But I was like, okay, we're just going to sit here in these 40 degrees. And we're talking, we're having this really awesome, intimate conversation. I can feel him like being more and more uplifted because like, mind you, it's 40 degrees and we're like this close to each other. And we were like, you can see the breath exchanging in each other's faces during this. And so this was going on and he's like trauma dumping to me. And I was like dead sober and he's not. And I'm just sitting there and be like, yeah, man, this is really good. Like, I'm so glad the Philadelphia Eagles are winning. And they went up 13-0 until the last 5 minutes when Josh Allen, the MVP, really made a comeback. And it came down to the very final play. And this guy was on FaceTime with all his family members the last 5 seconds of the game, who I knew by name because he told me all their stuff. And like all that, like I could talk about this for a while. And I'm sitting there with my Buffalo hat on and I'm watching like this whole family's eyes glued to the field. And I'm just like, just let the MVP mess up. It was a 2-point conversion. And the final score ended up being 13-12. So if they make this 2-point conversion, they win and the Philadelphia Eagles lose. And this whole family is going to start off the year in a bad spot. And thank God Josh Allen missed the throw and the wide receiver dropped it. And I got to see like the joy on this man's face and his whole family on FaceTime. Meanwhile, like the whole stadium of Buffalo is like terrible. And he's just like up at the top of the stadium screaming, you can imagine what, with his family on speakerphone. And I would assume it was his wife. Like she was frowning the entire game because it was 40 degrees and raining. And that was not her idea of fun. And that guy, the reason why like he was so crowded because she wanted to give her space because the guy opposite of her, across from her husband, was like another gentleman who was also taking up a lot of space and was passed out half the game. So I got to sit there right next to my brother and just watch as like this family on this guy's phone. And that just like made the trip for me, was seeing how excited in the community and watching the crazy Philly fans like celebrate. And they ended up like, you follow me on Instagram and like we've been texting a little bit. So that was my highlight. That was my long-winded highlight of my personal story.
Josh, I'm just going to thank you for that highlight, partly because I know your family a little bit, and I just find it ironic that it's you that had that moment. I think the guy sort of picked up the PK vibes from you, and he's like, you know something about this, so you'll be able to help me. You'll be able to like hold space for me. I love that personal highlight. We have room in Studio Wesley Live for the personal highlight. Josh, thanks for bringing it tonight. I'll share my highlight now. So my highlight is that the movie Sinners, which all of my close friends have already watched, because that's why they're close friends, because they've already watched it, right? Mm-hmm. All of my close friends know that Sinners is a pretty big deal. And the Oscar nominations are coming up pretty quickly here. And the chances are good that Sinners is going to rack up a ton of Oscar nominations. Now, friends, I am not an awards guy. I've got lots of friends who literally will not be watching Studio Wesley Live during the Oscars because they're watching the Oscars. I'm not one of those people. But let me just say, Sinners needs all of its flowers today, all right? Sinners needs every nomination in every category. There's nothing you can say to me that would prove that any movie in 2025 is more worthy of any award at the Oscars, even an award that literally has nothing to do with Sinners. Sinners should get it anyway because Sinners is that good. And so I am looking forward to them at least getting 14 nominations. That is the record. But honestly, the universe needs to push it over to, they just need 17 nominations. Now, that says nothing about the number of actual awards they get. That will be another highlight for another Studio Wesley Live, because I will be repping Sinners for a minute. Of course I would, because all of my friends have already watched Sinners, right? Right. And if you want to be good friends with Derek, one of the big things you're going to have to do, you don't get to be friends with Derek by grace. You get to be friends with Derek by works, okay, friends? And one of your works is you are going to watch Sinners if you haven't already. Okay, great highlights this week. Allison's going to do all of us a solid and make sure that we get access to these links and all of these stories on our Instagram page tomorrow. So thank you as always, Allison. And that was great. And so with that, Allison, you might have some announcements, maybe? Announcements?
I do. I'm not used to you did the transition beforehand and I got confused. Also, I was laughing really hard at Natalie's comment. I don't know if anybody else saw it. So I was distracted.
Natalie, you're my friend by grace. There is a little bit of grace. Okay, Allison, give us our announcements for this week. I'm sorry.
Our announcements for this week are that Derek apparently is not Natalie's friend. I'm kidding. kidding. We have community group today at 6:45, right after the live. So the Zoom link has been shared. If you need it, let us know and we can share it to you. But all are welcome and we'd love to have you there.
I am excited to share during community group tonight, something that I've been thinking about today and really excited about that. And also, Natalie, we're going to figure out, and this goes out to everyone, okay? So this is a promise. If you would like to be Derek's friend and you have not seen Sinners yet, let's figure out how we work on our friendship. Let's do this, okay? So drop me a message and then we can figure this out, because there's room. There's lots of room. And it's not that hard. Natalie, we're going to figure out when you and I are going to watch Sinners together. We're going to figure it out. So thanks for that announcement. Alice, any more announcements for today? Beautiful. Well, now we're going to go into our recurring segment. Actually, it's not recurring, might not be the right word. Rotating segment. I think that's the right word. Tonight, we are having story time. Yeah, I like all of these like bumpers and stuff. So story time. We are about to hear a story from our producer who's hanging out in the background. Neil tonight is our producer. We're going to hear a story. We don't know the details of this story and what's going on, but we're going to hear it. And then we're going to talk about it and see if we can kind of come to some conclusions together about whatever this story's about. So Neil, lay it on us.
Hello there. It is disembodied voice of Neil. Or maybe I'm just your conscience to talk you through the new year. Either way, I will be telling you this story from r/Christian advice, with the prompt being, "Am I being too prideful?" ? Headline here is first sentence here. They say, "Sorry in advance. This is long and probably full of grammar mistakes. Before I joined the church, I was your typical 21-plus-year-old, drinking and partying every weekend with my group of friends. Two things made me realize these probably weren't as good friends as I thought. The death of my mother, August 2019, and COVID. Both events, I went through some dark times, and none of my so-called friends never checked up, which caused me to isolate myself and lone wolf it. I deleted all social media and kept to myself since the pandemic. On March 21st, 2021, I went to Mass in honor of my mother's birthday, and I found the Lord's is in all capitals, by the way. I found the Lord's light. Since then, I've been attending Mass and trying to live a good Christian life. Recently, I took up reading and studying the Bible. One major topic in the Bible is pride. To me, pride is idolizing oneself, but I'm starting to think me distancing myself and not talking to anyone is my pride taking over. Part of me wants to reach out to my old group of friends and reconnect with them, but another part of me says, forget them and leave them in the past. Start fresh with the new opportunity the Lord left me. I think of Lot's wife and how she turned back to the city and was turned to salt. My interpretation of that part is not looking back at your old life and focus on what's ahead of you. I forgive my old friends and do not have no problems against them. So my question is, am I being too proud by not trying to reach out? If so, should I try and reach out to them? Or just focus on my life? Any advice is greatly appreciated. Thank you, and God bless." Now, there is more, but that will come later.
Okay, and Neil, feel free to just pop in when you're ready to give us that extra information. An interesting post here. Am I too prideful? Am I being prideful by not reconnecting with my friends? So, Josh, this is a blind read for all of us. None of us got any of this info ahead of time. So we're all going with the information that we've got. There's a lot of context we're missing. I want to rep my Catholic siblings. I'm out here. I see you. I'm really grateful for you. And there's a lot going on in this post. So, Josh, what do you think? Is it pride? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I love that question. I think he kind of alluded this a little bit, but I think it depends on the person, and I think I'm not sure if he's worried about going back to them because he's afraid he's going to fall back in that slippery slope of like going back to that drinking, partying life and like not going to church anymore. I think it depends on where he's at. If he's worried about that, then maybe spend a little bit more time in like the Christian fellowship and having like more confidence. I've been in this situation a couple times. This like immediately took me back to like middle school when like for a long time, I'm just gonna be like short version, but for a long time my dad was a pastor and then there's a little bit of break where he wasn't, and I was able to experience a lot of freedom and do a lot of things because I wasn't a PK anymore, and then I had to go back into the PK role. So I had like, I when going back in the PK role, I was really like kind of rejuvenated my faith. And I struggled with this question of like, oh my gosh, do I go back to my old friends? Do I try and bring some of them? It sounded to me like it was really just one friend group. For me personally, I was able to bring some friend groups, but not all of them. Like, I don't think you can just try your best and do all of them. So I think this question, I don't know if there's like a really right or wrong answer. I would love to get, when you read this, when you said there's more, I was like, oh my God, I want to know more, because I think, to me, I talked to Darius about this, but I hate making assumptions. So to me, it seemed like he knew a lot about the Bible, because that Lot reference is like an Old Testament.
Yeah, like
Seems
nobody's
he's
just kind
already
of pulling
pretty
that out of there
comfortable.
from nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like he was pretty comfortable in his faith. And I think it sounds like he's ready to do that. And now he just doesn't want to, because it is his pride. So if it is your pride, then I would say go ahead and do it. But yeah, I don't know exactly where he's at.
Yeah. Josh, thanks for that. Some good thoughts there. Allison, what are you thinking? Is it pride that's keeping him from reaching out to his friends?
I don't know. I think that we need different people in different seasons of life. Sometimes, like there are instances where people have known other people for their entire lives, but I do feel like there are certain groups of people that we kind of sway maybe in and out of, or just away from completely at different points in our lives, depending on what we need or depending on where we're at. And so I don't know if it's necessarily pride. I think it's just like a matter of like, for a while he didn't need them. Does he need them now? Does he feel like where he's at is where he is? And I don't know. I don't know if it's like, Josh, you mentioned a worry. I don't know if I got that vibe from him. But obviously it's like, it's hard for us to know those things, but I don't know. I just feel like I have like a hard time being like, oh, well, you're just being prideful. Because it's like, well, maybe just in this season of his life, it's just he's different. And what once was is no longer for him. And that's just where he's at.
I appreciate that, Allison. I've got some thoughts that are similar to both you and Josh, but I'm going to hold to hear some more from our panel. So Grace, what are you thinking?
I took notes like always. I don't think we have enough information about this person. Like, we got a lot of like logistics. We didn't get a lot of like motivational commentary from our OP original poster. Because like I wouldn't even think like cutting off friends is prideful, but also it depends on like how is this person going about things, right? Like, are you being like high and mighty about the fact that you're not like drinking or whatever anymore? Like, are you like, how do you perceive, because like I know at the end OP said like I've forgiven them and everything, I think, but also like they didn't reach out to you when your mom died. That's horrible. And so that also makes me wonder, like, how was the communication in this friend group? Well, okay, it makes me wonder two things. One, like, how is the communication with this friend group? Like, how did you tell them about your mom's passing? Did you like really let them know? Did you brush it? Like, and on one hand, like, if someone's parent passes, like, that's most of the time gonna be a really sad thing for that person, whether or not you like brush it off to your friends, so like that makes me really sad that those friends like didn't show up when they should have. It also makes me think, Derek, of your relational model, because like we have categories of friends, right? So like, would I tell all of my friends about something sad that happens in my life? I mean, me, probably, because I talk about everything all the time, but like we have categories of friends for a reason. And so also like, if you're not drinking and partying, you don't need drinking and partying friends anymore, logistically. But also, okay, and my last question / moment of concern was like, deleted all of your social media, cut off all of your circles. Like, do you have friends now? Like, did you like were you just like horribly alone, and then like it does, okay, it, my fear was that this person got like swooped into like more of like a cult space because they didn't have any resources. That it doesn't sound like that happened. It does not sound like that happened. And that's like a really beautiful moment to like go to like mass to celebrate your mom, and then you find this like really good, seems like really good community there. But like, do you have friends now? Like, you isolated yourself, and that doesn't sound prideful, but it sounds concerning. So I don't think we know enough to know whether this person is being prideful or not, because they didn't tell us.
So many thoughts there, Grace. Thank you. Neil, I'm curious if you want to pipe in now and like give us some extra data to consider here.
Absolutely. So this next section is OP's response to a comment made under the original post. Thank you for your reply. Everything you said made a lot of sense. If these two events never happened, I would probably be still living the same life. If God really wants them back in my life, he will find a way to make our paths cross again. Since this I made this post, I can say I made a 180 in my life. Before, I was always anxious about everything, especially the future, but now I've put all my faith in God and let him be my guide. All I can do is take it one day at a time and keep fighting the good fight. As for temptation, every now and then he pops up. Most times I'm able to fight it, but I would be lying if I said I win every battle. But I am able to recognize my mistake and ask for forgiveness. I was at a family barbecue last weekend. Usually I'm the cousin who gets blacked out drunk. Last weekend, I only had 2 drinks, felt a little buzz, and stopped. I sober up and took off before midnight. As for the experiencing the light, it was beautiful. It was after the father did his homily and the choir was singing. I have never felt that type of joy in my life. I couldn't help myself but to cry during the rest of the Mass. It was the first time I felt that I actually belong somewhere. That was the point I knew this was the beginning of my journey. Right now, I'm reading the first book of Samuel, but I will be sure to read them after I read his second book. Oh, it seems like the comment recommended some books to him or something like that. But I'll be sure to read them after I read his second book. Thanks again for your suggestions and have a blessed Sunday. Happy Mother's Day.
Interesting. Okay. So quickly, friends, anyone want to just chime in again with the added information, and then I'll finish this off here.
I have a couple thoughts. One, if God really wants fill in the blank thing, what if you're also a human experiencing life and choices on Earth, my friend? I don't know. And like that is more so like, this is where we get into like the theological stances. I just feel like it's, if God really wants you to do the thing, then maybe like your relationship with God will then like inform you that you should do the thing. And like, I know like the mystical God makes things happen all the time, right? Also, I get in trouble at school for doing this. I love the concept of collective effervescence. That thing that happens when you are like in a room with people and you're all worshiping together, or you're just at a concert. A lot of people who were raised in like a certain more like controlling religious space think that they feel God in these spaces, and then they go to a concert and they're like, oh, I just love live music. And so I get in trouble when I talk about this because sometimes it negates what the Spirit is doing, right? I think that sounds like a really beautiful moment that this person had, and I also like, I would be interested to chat with them and wonder if they like are gonna then utilize that feeling to find other ways to like participate in their religion and like celebrate with like the people they care about. I don't know. I have thoughts on that, but I don't want to negate this person's experience too. So
much appreciated, Grace. Anybody else? Allison, Josh, y'all want to add anything?
Yeah. On that second comment, or like I guess response to the thing that Neil read, like the biggest thing that I was taking away, since like I'm an Enneagram 9, like the Peacekeeper, is like just sounds like this man or this person found peace, and that I think is like really important, especially in your family. Like overcoming. I don't. Did he use the word alcoholism? I don't know. He just said. I mean, I guess we could assume. But I know, like, for those who
He
struggle
said
with that-
buzz. He said 2 drinks and then buzz. I mean,
the
yeah, but I'm
OPs
saying
need
like
to know.
family, like getting over that thing at a family party,
Yeah.
and not like changing your identity in your family is also like really hard to do.
yeah.
It's one thing in friends because you can kind of choose your friends.
Yeah.
You can't always choose. You can't choose your family, I guess, and your spouse or whatever. But yeah, peace is like the number one word that I got from this, and that makes me like so happy. And the only thing maybe I'll talk to him about is like, it's just kind of like a new thing that I've got to college. Like one of my personal convictions and things that I've done is I've challenged myself in the faith is like sometimes, I know this like sounds bad, but God does like use you to be evangelical and spread his word. So, you know, maybe this person isn't there yet, but hopefully they get there one day, and it might not be for his old friends, but it could be for someone else. And so like, and that's not a skill that I don't think it's like a talent. Like you have to develop that skill. And so I would don't say anything like I would challenge it and be like, hey, if you can't share the gospel with your friends or your old friends, then who can you really share it with? Someone like said that to me once, and that like really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing like I would say to this person if I were to ever meet them, or like if I were to find the Reddit post. So
it's a good thought. Neil, were you trying to hop in there a second ago?
Yeah, I was just gonna add the clarity that this person did say that they are usually the cousin who gets blacked out drunk at these functions, so they stop themselves a little bit early.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, you know, the sweet tea and, you know, diabetic coma kind of stuff. Like it happens. So, but I don't think it's sweet tea. I think it's probably spiked sweet tea. At that. So let me say a couple of things, because I have a preference for the young adult who is figuring out so many things about themselves and working through various narratives. Like I heard this OP say in the beginning, I'm your typical 21-year-old, like at the very beginning, and automatically like I was a flag, like, what's a typical 21-year-old? Like I've been working with college students my entire life, well, my entire adult life rather. And like, cause not my entire life, but my entire adult life. And I'll just say like, there is not a typical 21-year-old. There are narratives about typical 21-year-old activity, but I can't say that that actually exists. So like, I hear OP is actually, and Josh, this is a little bit to your point of like who this person is in their family. And like Allison, I heard you talk about like friends for seasons at a time. Like, so like this person is trying to figure out who they are and like how they're going to move about the world. And again, of course, I think the key to that journey is one's faith. And yet again, let me rep my Catholic friends. What a beautiful place to land. And you're right, Grace. There is nothing like being in a room full of devout Catholics during Eucharist. My God, today, nothing like, there is no Hillsong moment, okay, that matches it. And let me say this. There is a thing that we sometimes do at different points of our lives, but especially when life is very overwhelming. And the term is called spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is when we literally bypass dealing with something in our lives using spirituality. So instead of actually processing events and dealing with even trauma, but sometimes just, you know, pain, we'll use spirituality as sort of, again, the bypass to sort of get around it, because it's overwhelming. It's a lot. We don't know what to do with it. We don't have the categories. We didn't ask for it. And I did hear some of that in this person's story. We've got some stuff there's a lot that I know we don't know. And this is not to discount anything that this person is experiencing, not to discount the pain they've gone through, is not to discount the beautiful, what some of us might call conversion to Catholic Christianity that we heard in this. And clearly it's meaningful. This person is reading scripture and it's like, I'm going to read Samuel's books before I read somebody else's books. Thank you very much. Like this is super meaningful. And yeah, like these kinds of choices definitely change relationships. Okay. Like, so not discounting any of that. And all of that has to be processed through. All of that has to be worked through. yes, it does have to be worked through, because when we don't, it actually creates baggage. It creates mindsets. It causes us to put people in categories. It causes us to. It even pulls us away from people who actually love us. And so I just want, if I knew OP, I would affirm OP's conversion, and I'd be like, please, can we go to mass together? Because I don't have a ton of Catholic friends in my life. I should probably get more Catholic friends who've watched Sinners. Anyway, keep going. No distractions. I would like, can we go to mass together? I would, Grace, I would ask some questions about those friendships, right? Like, and I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's pride that's keeping OP. I think I keep acting like it's a he. I don't know their gender. I don't know if it's pride that's keeping OP from reaching out to their friends. I do wonder if it's spiritual bypassing. Even the use of a story like Lot, it just gives me a flag of, are we skipping over some harder work? Let me be clear. That's hard. All the stuff that OP has been through is hard. The friends not reaching out when the mom passes away, that, y'all, right? That spiritual bypassing though is a thing, and I would ask some questions here. So that was our story time tonight. Neil, thank you for standing in for OP and representing them well. Thank my panel as well for their contributions. I hope folks who are listening / watching, maybe you've got some interesting thoughts about this as well. Hope that our comments were helpful. And with that, we're going to take a soul break and come back to land the plane. So really great Studio Wesley Live tonight. And as we're ending, today in many congregations across the world, many churches celebrated Baptism of the Lord Sunday. And that was possibly commemorated by reading, particularly the Matthew 3 text that I commend to you. I invite you to consider reading Matthew 3, particularly the little section around verse 13 of Jesus' baptism. And so many churches possibly read that or maybe had baptismal remembrances. I actually did that today at my little local church. I stood behind a baptismal and I poured water over people's hands and said, remember your baptism and be thankful. There's so much significance to Baptism of the Lord Sunday. It's definitely hearkening back to Jesus' baptism, but it's also an invitation to remember our own baptism. And I don't know if when you've been baptized, I was baptized when I was 4 years old. Some of us were baptized as infants. Some of us had an infant or child baptism and then were baptized again later. And there's a lot going on there, a lot of reasons why we might do that. But Baptism of the Lord Sunday is a beautiful day that we both remember Jesus' baptism, and something so incredible happened that day, according to scripture. After Jesus was baptized, a voice, according to the scriptures, comes from heaven and says, this is my beloved son. One translation says, in whom I am well pleased. Another translation, the Common English Bible, actually says, and I find happiness in him, which I thought was just a beautiful translation. Can you imagine Jesus being baptized? This voice comes out of heaven and it says loudly, I find happiness in him. Oh my goodness, such a beautiful moment. So yes, we remember Jesus' baptism, but also on this day, we remember that we have been invited into a very similar, not the same, but a very similar relationship with God that Jesus had, in the way that we might actually hear a voice saying over us, I find happiness in you. And my invitation tonight, friends, is to consider that maybe, just maybe, there is a voice coming out of heaven that we're probably not hearing in the same way that the scripture sort of sets up, but a voice coming out of heaven saying, I find happiness in you. And I say that at the beginning of 2026, where we haven't done a whole lot in the first 11 days, or maybe we have done a lot in the first 11 days. And this voice is very consistent over us. I find happiness in you. And I would even suggest that the ground of our spirituality really starts from this place of God loving us. God loving us way before we knew anything about God and way before we did anything for God or because of God. That in a similar way that God says over Jesus, I find happiness in him, God says that over each one of us. I find happiness in you. And maybe we could just take a risk and just for a little bit believe it. Like for 5 minutes, just believe that it might be possible that God finds happiness in us today as we are. And maybe that realization, courage to take that in, might then prompt a different way of being in the world. So that's my invitation to each one of us tonight and this week, just to dare to believe it, that God finds happiness in you, that God looks at you, and before you've done anything for God, God's like, I'm happy with you. I love you, and I'm so grateful that you're on the planet. I hope that you'll be encouraged by those words tonight, my friends. And with that, I want to thank my panel tonight for being awesome. Grace and Allison, as always, y'all are so, so cool. Josh, good job on your first Studio Wesley Live. You crushed it, my friend. So good. Neil, thanks for doing tech in the background. Ashworth is with me and thanking you for that work. And friends, thanks for being on Studio Wesley Live. We'll be back here next week, 6 p.m. It's going to be so, so good here on YouTube Live. For friends, have a great week. You're deeply loved by God. Nothing can separate you from God's love. Be well.